Welcome back, horror family. We are well into the 13 nights of Halloween, and tonight we are deep in the woods. I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Tim. And joining us is someone you know well from the Dread broadcast, our friend, the one and only GC from Face the Movies. He's back with us tonight to talk about one of the most underappreciated modern horror films, The Ritual. GC, thanks for being here.
Dude, thank you so much for having me, man. When you mentioned the title of the movie, I was like, dude, you had me right before you even finished. I was like, I know where he's going. Let's make it happen.
Awesome. So glad.
Right on. So, that's right. The Ritual dropped on Netflix in 2017, directed by David Bruckner, who you might know from The Night House and Hellraiser reboot, or the Hellraiser reboot. But this one's about grief, guilt, masculinity, and the kind of ancient god that lives somewhere just past the tree line.
It's based on the novel by Adam Neville, which leans even harder into cosmic horror and Norse mythology. The movie trims some of that but keeps the heart. Four old friends on a hiking trip through Sweden that turns into a psychological and supernatural nightmare. If the Blair Witch Project is about getting lost, the ritual is about what's waiting for you when you're found.
And that's why it fits so perfectly into our folk horror lineup. You've got isolation, you've got pagan imagery, a backwoods cult, and the kind of ancient force that doesn't need to explain itself. You don't stumble into these woods and walk back out the same, if you walk out at all.
We've got personal demons, literal gods, and GC's insight to break it all down. So let's string up some effigies and head into the trees. This is The Ritual.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
All
I'm
right.
excited.
I'm excited to have you. You always bring great energy to the Dread broadcast, so I'm excited to have you for a movie review with us. So we're recording this early. This actually will come out like October 25th or something like that. I don't know exactly, but we got a little ways that we're sitting on it, but it'll be in our 13 Nights of Halloween release. So we kick this off by addressing the story elements. How do we feel about this story? How unique is it compared to other folk horror films, other horror films in general? How does this film stand up for you guys?
I like this movie. I thought it was just going to be some kind of kind of B film, but it turned out to be way better than that. I was actually impressed with this film.
That's good. I was kind of nervous what your response would be. Just we've been all over the place on our folk horror dive this October because
Yeah.
the I don't like folk horror that much. So I can appreciate a lot of the films and still not really enjoy them. I think there's a difference between respecting the craft and enjoying it. So this one was one that I do enjoy, and I was kind of curious to see where we would all line up on this. So GC, feel free to chime in whenever. Do not worry about thinking you're interrupting us. Just if you got something to say, just say it.
Dude,
So,
okay. Yeah,
yep.
no,
No,
that's all that I was waiting because I was like, I didn't want to like interrupt if there's like a whole like process to it or anything, but
nope. We're past the scripted intro. Now it's just
good.
open conversation. So feel free to chime in whenever you want.
Don't
Well,
interrupt me. Ah,
my opinions matter.
why?
Man, I gotta say, when it comes to story and plot, for me, am I allowed to give it the score? The
We kind of talk about it for a couple minutes, and then we all drop the score at the end together.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
I'll hold that part back.
Yep.
I think from the very beginning, they had me. Just the cinematography is so crisp and so beautiful, and the camera angles. It was just, I think within the first 5 minutes, I was just, what the hell is going to happen next? It's yeah. As far as for story and then the plot, it was something I was not expecting. I was expecting it to be another type of kind of like Jonathan was saying, like a B horror. Oh, they went into the woods type situation. Like usual, there's like a monster, and then that's the end of it. But this movie was so deep, and yeah, it was just incredible that the turn that it took, and fantastic, man.
Yeah.
I was really big into like the emotional aspect of because the four friends, or sorry, five friends, starts out five
Yeah,
friends, and then one of them ends up dying in a robbery in a little shop when they're getting alcohol. And you got Luke, the one friend who's there with Rob, seeing him die and having done nothing, and like the guilt that eats at him from it.
For
And
being
then
a coward. Yeah.
things get really dramatic in the woods when the friends go on their little tribute hike to him, and how like the emotions come out and the real thoughts about what they feel about what went down in that situation, on top of the horror that they're and the fear that they're dealing with in those woods. Man, that was awesome. That was way better than I thought it would be.
So what you're saying, I have to say, and this technically would fall into script category the way I score, but I'm going to say it now before I forget about it, is that the way the guys behave in this movie is 100% the way I would behave in that situation.
Yeah.
Like, I'm watching it, I'm going, yeah, dude, our friend's injured. If we cut through those trees, we can probably, he's talking like shaving off a day of the hike. He's like, we can probably head due south, cut a day off in the hike. That way we're not carrying him back. We can get this safety. They're waiting for us at the lodge. I'm like, check. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Then they're wandering through, downpour coming, and they see shelter. And they're like, let's crash here for a night. I would 100%. Yes, the little effigy in the attic would weird me out. But to be fair, it looks like 100 years old. It looks like it's been there for a very long time. And do I want to be cold and wet in the rain outside, or would I take the dry of a cabin that, like, there's no dead bodies in it? So yeah, I probably would give it a shot in there. And then when they are debating, like, dude, he's losing his mind, he's injured, why don't you go ahead? You go ahead of us, send somebody back. Like, all of these things check out. Like, it makes sense the way these guys are behaving. So technically, I might put that in with the way the movie's written in the script. But for the story too, there's not a moment in this film where I'm going, this doesn't make sense. They're being stupid. You know, I'm not having that dialogue with myself while I watch the movie. I'm going, yeah, I would probably try to cut a day off the hike too, rather than listening to Dom complain about his foot the whole time.
Dude.
Oh, it's fucked. It's fucked. Like,
my meniscus.
My meniscus, dude. I agree with you, man. Well, there's two parts where, see, my mind would have done something a little different. Like, instead of just from experience from hiking and reading and watching, kind of watching Mr. Ballin's YouTube channel of all those stories of people getting lost, I was like, you know what, man? Like, that moment where he got hurt, I would have been like, all right, two of us stay behind and two people go ahead, because obviously the buddy system, go get help, and then they'll either bring a helicopter or a truck or something. But when I saw the density of that forest, the thickness, I was like, man, there's no way you're going to go in there and especially get out before nightfall. And then the whole situation after they stayed in that cabin, I do got to say that when they all had those nightmares and all that stuff, that would have been a turning point for me, where I would have been like, you know what? We've seen enough shit. Let's turn around and go back the way we came.
Yes.
But they're like, let's keep going deeper, and we're almost there. It's like, no, I think if we all, like, if somebody pissed their pants and then somebody else is like praying to a deity and all that. Yeah, dude, I would have been like, let's turn around. Like, it's okay at this point.
And shit, like,
yes. So ultimately, the story begins as an emotional retreat honoring their friend who died, and it slowly turns into a nightmare. You have the strange symbols. That gutted elk, that gutted elk early on might have been enough for me, seeing it strung up in the trees and still bleeding. Like, when he points out, like, that's fresh, I would have been like, nope.
That's not a bear. That's not from a bear.
Whatever did that can do it to us. We're gone.
that was a flaw. That was a flaw in the story for me. That part in particular, because it's true. It's like when they said a bear, I was like, dude, have you seen National Geographic or Discovery Channel? There's no way a bear would launch something like that in the air, and for it to hang so perfectly. Yeah. And I was like, right then and there, let's just turn it around, go get some s'mores, and
where the rest of the gnawed bits of the body that a bear would normally go for.
Dude, seriously.
Yes. So the other part of the story that I really like is how this creature, I appreciate it not going the Blair Witch route where we never see the creature. I think this stands I think this separates it from becoming that movie again. I don't think this creature is disappointing whatsoever, but we'll get to that at CGI. We'll
Yep.
get to that later. But it separates from that. But I also like that for most of the movie, the creature appears as a vision. He's like the creature is the guilt following uh, Luke through the woods. Because when the creature's close, Luke gets flashbacks of the night he basically watched. Some would argue in his mind, he's saying he let his friend die. He did
Yeah.
nothing. He sat
Yeah.
there. And so that creature is kind of the guilt following him through the woods. And I love the way it's very subtle, very eerie. And for the first 3/4 of the movie, the creature is that guilt there, those images. I think it is one of the, you can simplify this and say the story is a getting lost in the woods story. But I think there's a lot more going on here than that. And so for me, it's a 4.
Dude,
I'm at a 4.
same here. I gave it a 4 because it's true. It's like it goes beyond like just getting lost. It was like the mysticism behind it, where the woods kind of start widening. Like there's those shots where it kind of just starts becoming something where it's like there's just no way. It's not that you're lost. You're just kind of trapped in there in this type of like other parallel reality type situation. um I appreciated the creature itself. Like it's true, I loved how the way they showed the actual creature. um Especially it kind of reminded me of not kind of like wishmaster type. I forgot the name of that, of the creature itself, the lore behind it, but it kind of hypnotizes you.
It's been a
uh,
long time since I saw Wishmaster.
not
Kind of like a gin. I think is it like a
a
gin?
jinn. Yeah, it reminded me of like a type of jinn, the way it had this hypnotic effect. But man, it was so fantastic. I mean, and it's true, like the way the guilt was following Luke the entire time. I do just want to talk about the when he was getting those flashbacks. Could we all talk about the fact that the way they were able to recreate those scenes in like those forts so beautifully?
Yes.
Like it was incredible the way they were
Yes.
able to just pull walls. It felt very what is that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio? Inception. It felt very
Oh yeah.
Inception
Green light.
like. Yeah,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
incredible.
The scene, the final time it does from the creature at the end, and you see the creature crashing behind the shelves and then through them.
Dude.
Awesome. Awesome work. So,
Yeah.
Jonathan, where were
Just
you on the story?
dude, I said there was a good mix of multiple elements in this film that I really appreciated, and just that kind of dream mind trip and how it affects all of them at first in the cabin, and then how you see like it progress with how it messes with their minds as they go through as they start getting picked off. Man, and yeah, just the like in Luke saving himself, the way he was able to like the way he seemed like he was chosen to become part of the cult, judging
Yeah,
by the marks in his chest, the way that one lady was like,
his mark.
"Oh yeah, you're one
Yep.
of us now," kind of a thing. And he's like, "Fuck this! I'm not part of this shit. I'm out, bro." Fighting hard for it, confronting, the minor deity, elk god Loki bastard son thing. Man, like there was such a great combination of things. Him coming out on top, so rad. This was a completely different set that I would normally see for story, especially something that's out in the woods. I gave it a 5.
Hey,
Ooh, okay.
awesome.
I
I
really like
like
the story.
I like the way this is headed. So let's
Sure.
examine the character arcs of the guys here. We have Luke as the emotional core. He's the one struggling. Guilt from Rob's death. It's crushing him. His friends, we learn through some arguments and passive aggression that they kind of resent him for letting it happen. But the movie also tells us that they can't resent him more than he already resents himself. And he
Yeah.
is already beating himself up about it. But the forest kind of forces him to confront that. Like I said, the creature is kind of representative of that guilt. Because as far as we know, he's the only one who gets visions. And I don't know if that's because he was chosen or what, but he's the one with the visions and those awesome nightmare landscapes. But
Well,
he's the one who ultimately finds redemption, and it's not through. I think this is one of the powerful storytelling things. If you dig into this movie a little bit, he finds redemption not through being a hero, but through persevering.
yeah.
He doesn't save anybody. And that's not I think the movie is about him dealing with his guilt, and it is about him coming out on the other side and breaking free from his guilt. I think, yeah, the other guys are there, they have decent personalities to serve the story, but I think this movie is about Luke struggling with his guilt and breaking free.
Yeah.
And I think that's like that core story for Luke is fantastic. I love it. And we have Dom, we have Hutch, we have Phil are the other three guys. Dom is the abrasive one who injures his meniscus. Hutch, he at first comes across as is he's the leader. He at first comes across as the leader, the one who's like, all right, why don't you go back, Luke? I'll stay with these two guys. You go get help. And then he is the first to die, gutted like the elk in the tree. And then
Poor
there's
Hutch.
Phil, who doesn't really have enough character to him.
Yeah. No, there was so that's the thing with this I think with the character development in this film, that it's not, you don't have to say a lot in the film for it to kind of show like his arc, because like when he's marked, because one thing you mentioned earlier, I do want to say before I talk about the marking part, so we didn't see flashbacks from the other characters because this movie, it seemed like it focused mostly on Luke,
Mm-hmm.
but they all had the same dreams and the same nightmares. The only difference is that for them, they actually saw their deaths, and that's why they were so scared.
That's what I
Yeah,
was
that's true.
thinking. Because with
Yeah,
Dom, he explains this, but you don't hear about the rest from Hutch or
Yep.
Phil.
exactly. Yeah, and then if you notice it too, which is, and I just forgot. You just said the name of the guy that was like the leader, but
Hutch.
with
Hutch.
Hutch, like he pisses his pants, and
Yeah,
and for him that was something where, like, since he's like kind of like the leader, the alpha, for that to happen, you know that he was like scared shitless. And then you
literally.
have, and then the other guy, which is kind of more of the you can't bend me, I follow my own will and this and that. When he was praying to it, it goes to show like it broke his character as wanting to be that strong, independent type, to kind of just bowing down and accepting his fate, or trying to like get his way out of from dying. But
Mm-hmm.
with Dom, it was just fantastic because he realizes, he's like, you know what? Like, this is a vision. I saw myself dying. I saw my wife. At least he got to see his wife.
Mm-hmm.
But he lets him know. He's like, hey man, I forgive you. And it's a story that goes to show, because it's true. It's like Luke doesn't save anybody, but I think the moral of the story was that that everybody had a choice, and his friend Robert didn't have to follow him in there. So it wasn't Luke's fault that he died, because he had a
Mm.
choice to help him or not, but also Robert had a choice to fight back or to run or to not even go in there. So I feel like Luke kind of at the end of it, he realized he forgave himself because he felt like he didn't do anything, but then he realized that, it was everybody has a choice, and in this situation, he fought in the forest, like he tried to take care of everybody to the
Yeah.
very end. And then when he just realized, he's like, there's no way we're all getting out of here. And then Dom told him, like, dude, there's no way I'm getting out of here. Like, you need to go. I saw it in my vision. You need to leave. But yeah, I thought it was amazing, the arc. Like, it was phenomenal.
That's a great analysis. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's hard to follow up on that. Yeah, that was
Sorry,
pretty
guys.
spot on. Yeah, with the way that you see how they're impacted with their nightmares and with their own thing, I really wish I could have seen some kind of glimmer of what Hutch and Phil saw.
Yeah.
Because I
Dude.
mean, Phil was pretty fucked up about you coming to and being naked, praying to that nasty thing. in the upstairs of that cabin, and it's like you see like his hand doing the twitch thing throughout because he's like, okay, I'm worried, I'm freaking out. So he's a little anxiety setting in. You said hand twitch, and it's like, man, something's really messed him up. But as far as character arcs go, man, it's it's hard to really say anything about the rest of the guys because most of it focuses on Luke. You know, I mean, yeah, Rob, and GC, you're right. Rob could have just given up the ring and got a new one, but he chose to stand his ground on that shit,
Yeah.
stand on principle. And frankly, if I'd have been Luke, you see him grab that bottle of vodka thinking like, man, maybe I could do something with this. I would have been chucking fucking bottles. There were so many lined up right there. I would have been liquor bombing and pulling out a lighter.
Yeah.
Like, you want some of this shit? You want this fire? You're about to fucking get it, dude. But
Dude,
it didn't go that way, unfortunately, sadly. But it is what it is. But the fact that Dom, kind of busts it out there and brings it out in the open to make everyone kind of address it, just because they're in a high stress situation where they don't know really what to do.
Oh, tensions were so high. Yeah.
Hard.
Yeah.
It's kind of good, I think, that, Dom, even though he's an asshole about it, bringing it up does kind of help, I think, Luke kind of like deal with that shit, especially when this entity is like making him relive it over and over every time he goes to sleep, and like these kind of waking day visions. And man, it was crazy. And I just loved how he just kind of took his time, was just kind of waiting to see what happened. He didn't rush. He wasn't being brash about shit,
Mm-hmm.
He was really taking stock of his situation. And once you really see the villain, this bastard son of Loki, and how he really handles his shit, man, I got to give a lot of credit to it. I just wish there had been more to see at the end as he comes out of the forest. But
Yeah.
overall, I do like how it went for the most part. I gave it a 4 on character.
Okay.
Dude, I gave it a 5 because one thing I missed was Dom definitely had a massive character development. Because I
He
mean,
did.
if you see him from the beginning, he's kind of like the whiny, like crybaby of the bunch. Because you even see Luke talking about it in the beginning. They're amongst themselves. They're like, "Oh, here we go. Now the princess, he sprained his ankle. We're gonna have to carry him like a pharaoh."
Yep.
And it was just one of those situations where when Dom, like from the beginning, to hating Luke and criticizing him and being kind of weak, to the end of being so strong and brave and literally sacrificing himself. He's like, "Hey, they're going to sacrifice me. Like, it's your time to escape." And him accepting his fate and being tough about it, compared to crying about just an ankle thing. Like, it was just he had an incredible arc. And yeah, that's why I gave it a 5, because it was very fantastic to see that closure at the end.
So I actually gave it a 5 as well. And that is one, like, I juggled with it a little bit, but because I do want to see, like Johnathan said, I wanted to see a little bit more, but I don't know why. Like, I wanted to see him get to the lodge that they were reserved at and like tell them like, dude, I lost the others, whatever. But I don't know what purpose that serves,
Yeah.
even though it's like my selfish desire, I want to see that. But also there's symbolism in that ending of him escaping the god, and he gets out of the woods and he screams back at it and turns around to the sun on his face.
Yeah. It
And
was.
there's just beautiful symbolism of him like breaking free. And so I can't fault it for that, because he comes full circle. Like you said, Dom is a little shit through most of the
Yeah.
movie, and he is the one who starts calling him out like, you're a coward, whatever. And he comes full circle like, dude, this is your shot, go. So I think it goes, if you pay attention to this movie, if you're willing to give it the chance to follow the story, because you could easily put this on in the background and think this is a boring movie. But if you pay attention, there is a deeper story here happening with these characters. So I am also a 5. And before we get to music and sound design, we've talked about the scene in the cabin multiple times. And the first time I put this on, in 2017, it was one of those on Netflix that popped up that I was like, that looks good, let me pop it on. I was watching it in the background until the scene in the cabin, and that freaked me out. Like, those guys waking up, the Phil praying to the whatever that was in the attic space,
Yeah.
naked, messed me up. That whole scene is so well done. I was hooked. It didn't really hook me at first. I thought it was going to be a shock value, killing the friend at the beginning. I was like, okay, what are we going to see? That scene sucked me in. That scene is so well done.
You don't want to be
But
dirty and naked praying to an effigy?
no thanks. An
That's
ancient one that literally looks like it's 100 years old. So, music and sound design. The score is by Ben Lovett, and it kind of walks the line between atmospheric and gets a little bit aggressive when it's appropriate. But this movie also uses just silence
yeah.
and woods, the sounds of the woods. And we'll talk about this. I think we literally have, I say it every episode, we record out of order. So tomorrow you're going to see us talk about the Blair Witch Project with After Hours and Steven from After Hours. And we talk about how that one uses the sounds of the woods, and so does this. The difference is this one is not a found footage film, so it's kind of polished, and it's still just like the branches snapping, the wind howling, the roars in the distance. So good. I really, yeah.
Dude,
It's this movie is more about the sound design than it is about the score.
Yeah.
it's
Agreed.
one of those movies where um I'll be honest, like a lot of the times I don't even remember what type of score or
Uh
music or
huh.
anything there was, because if you've been out in nature, you'll know that there's nothing scary that when you're in like the woods or in a forest and it's dead silent. And when there's nothing around, like you don't hear no birds or none of the small critters, normally that means there's something bigger out there hunting and
Yeah.
everybody's hiding. And they even emphasize that a few times in the film. I think at the very beginning when they're there, and then halfway through, they're like, it's very quiet. They're like, have you noticed it's very silent in here? And they're like, oh, yeah, whatever. Um, but even when it rains, right? Like it's like raining and pouring, there's a silence. There's this like subliminal silence behind that. Like you hear water, but it's like that's it. And normally you would hear a lot more things. Especially with these giant trees, you hear them moving with the wind, branches breaking. Um, but yeah, man, I mean, and the sound was fantastic. I was just so sucked into the cinematography, like how beautifully it was shot, that's kind of what distracted me from the sounds. Like it's
Yeah. Well,
crazy.
we'll get there. You'll
Yeah.
get your chance to talk about that. uh, you mentioned the rain, and I that was something watching it that I wanted to bring up because when you are out in the woods raining, like I was just out hiking yesterday, but it was a beautiful day, no rain. When you have that kind of sound, it creates this audio matrixing effect where you don't know where other sounds are coming from
Yeah.
because you just have this rain kind of cacophony, even though it's soft, that you can think sounds are coming from in front of you that are actually behind you. It just creates this eerie sound bubble, really. And this movie uses that to great effect.
See, I'm big on music heavy movies because I'm just a tunes kind of guy, not so much like focus on sound design. But the fact that there's a lack of music in this isn't a bad thing for me. I mean, I really appreciate like the emptiness and the desolation that you kind of feel from the lack of other sounds when you just hear the faint sounds of nature in the distance. That in itself has a nice kind of effect. And once you start hearing the sound of the creature out there, that entity, that really starts to hype things up. Um, Other than that, the rest of it just kind of blends for me. And usually when it comes to like sound design, everything else just kind of blends me. If it does a good job, then I don't really notice it, and I feel like that's kind of what happens in here. But I do appreciate like those segments where Luke is having his kind of nightmare replays, but then you have that kind of whoosh back to reality that kind of comes back and forth with those. I kind of like that a little bit. But the sounds of that demigod was just kind of weird, creepy, but kind of
Mm-hmm.
awesome at the same time. So I had a good appreciation for the type of sounds that they put together for that monster of the movie.
Okay.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah. I'm a I'm a 4 on the sound design. Not as much the music. That's why they're lumped together, because there's not a lot of music to this one, but there is great sound design. So I'm a 4 on this.
Yeah, same here. I gave it a 4 just because you know when the story is so good and when like cinematography and all that stuff is so good that you just don't even notice too much, and the fact that there was a lack of music for me made me feel like I was in the woods. Like you mentioned, Jonathan, the swooshing and all that. Dude, it was so good, man. Like all those little things, like those little small things like really made it feel like a dreamscape and all that stuff. So yeah, definitely a 4.
Yeah, if you got a good sound system to really kind of enhance that, really pump it up for you, it just makes it all the better. And
Yeah.
I always try to check my stereo settings. Like, am I set right for this movie? Am I getting the max out of the sound on this?
Yeah.
Because there have been some movies I've watched where like we've talked about certain sound effects that I just totally didn't pick up, and I'm like, okay, maybe I didn't set my sound right, but it's fine for this, and it was good. But like I said, everything just kind of blended for me well, so I don't really have any big hype over this. So I'm at a 3 on this part.
Okay.
Okay.
I think I have 4.1 surround sound. And this is one of those movies that like twigs are snapping behind you on the surround sound. That really helps. It really helps
Yeah,
get you
like good
immersed.
sound design. So
Yep.
if you got a good stereo setup to really hear all that stuff all around you, whoo, give you some goosebumps and shit.
Especially the bass, man. Like during those specific scenes where like walls are being pulled and you hear like the thumping and all that stuff. And then with the rain, it really feels like it's raining around you. It's
Yeah,
so good, man. It's so immersive.
it is. So let's jump editing and special effects. Talking about it was edited by, I can't say this name, Padraig Collins. That's my best version of it. The editing is tight,
Mm-hmm.
and yet it allows the cinematography to breathe to where we feel like we're in a vast expanse. But I don't feel like a second of this movie is wasted on shots of the woods. Each shot of the woods that is there serves some kind of purpose of telling them the isolation or the you're almost to the end type feeling. But I guess so. The creature is, I believe the name is actually a Jotun. Jotun is the name for the creature.
I see
But
motor.
okay.
That's on. That's what's Wikipedia. Wikipedia says motor. So I don't know.
Well, the internet is full of lies. So
Damn you, internet!
either way.
Fooled again.
But one of the, we already mentioned one of the best. I want to see how they did it. I want behind the scenes. Curse you, Netflix.
Oh,
I want behind the scenes of how they did the fluorescent lights and the liquor store aisles in the woods.
dude, you're in my head, and I need you to stay there because we need second sight to this is the type of movie second sight would pick up. Like
Yeah.
this is it. This would get a nice book. Like the all the razzle dazzle with the making, because I kept thinking the entire film when I saw those scenes. I was like, how the hell I could imagine with extension cords and like power generators or something, but yeah, I want to see the magic. That was incredible.
Yeah.
Those fluorescent lights.
It
It all
looks so good.
looked like it sort of fit naturally into the setting
Yeah,
with the
man.
way they had everything structured in those
Yeah.
woods. It looked awesome.
It
Yeah.
looks so. I even love like in the sound design, but there's that moment where Luke kind of turns around because he hears the fluorescent light clicking.
Yeah.
And he hears that and then turns around and you see the aisle. And it's so effective, from the sound design to the editing to the effects, all of it. And I just want to note, like, it doesn't look CGI. It looks like they built this thing in the woods because it's reflecting off the trees as well. Like, it looks so good. And it happens a couple times. So I do want, like, our greatest hope in this world, because you know what? Netflix has had some good stuff, but curse them for making you pay a monthly fee to watch any of it and not be able to pick up physical copies to watch at your own leisure. I'm
Dude.
I'm I am no fan of that. They curse them for ruining the streaming world, like
Yeah.
becoming all of that, and now we don't get these things that I would love to have even when Netflix is gone one day.
Yeah. You know,
Like,
You know what they're doing too? It's funny because they Blockbuster did that to them where they were like, "Oh, streaming can't exist," and then they came in and took physical. They took Blockbuster out, right? And now they're
Mhm.
Blockbuster, and now people are like, "We want physical media," and they're doing the same thing Blockbuster did to them, and they're following that kind of pattern of sort of demise because their people are only subscribed to them because they either don't know any better or it's because of affordability. But the second they realize it's like it's a whole other world out there with special features and better
Yeah.
resolution and not having to pay. But man, I want to say that yeah, the one thing I noticed about those because I didn't want to go on that tangent with the streaming, but I had to stop myself.
Oh, I
But
was gonna say I don't even pay for it anymore. It's lumped in with my cell phone, and that's the only reason I have it.
yeah, it
So
it is, man. That's how, like they get you with T-Mobile gave me like free Hulu, which was
exactly,
pretty cool.
I
Those
have
bundled
Apple and
subscriptions,
Netflix
yeah.
through T-Mobile.
Yeah. But I did want to touch on that scenes, the scenes that you were talking about as when he's having those kind of reliving those moments when Robert, you know, obviously what happens to Robert when he dies at the liquor store. Have you noticed throughout the film, each time he has that flashback, it it's kind of falling apart more and more. As you see in the beginning, he's perfectly in the liquor store and it's like this whole illusion, like a dream. And then it happens again and he's more in the woods. And then it gets to that point towards the end where it's so much so merged with the woods. It's almost like a Stranger Things type situation, like the upside down type situation. But man, they the way they pulled the walls, the way the creature went through the walls. I mean, that did not. If I would be blown away if any of that was CGI. Besides the creature, like everything else, if
Yeah,
any of that was I don't know how the hell they did that to look so real.
it looks so good. And then the creature itself.
Yeah,
How do you guys feel about the creature itself?
I was
I have fun.
surprised
Yeah,
because like you see the part early on where the guys are starting to kind of panic a little, and you see them kind of cutting through the woods, and then you see through the line of trees, and you kind of barely notice the movement. If you're not paying attention, you can miss it, but you see the movement, and it just looks like a giant elk at first.
hmm,
yeah,
It's such a slim shot you can see between the trees. It's hard to tell that it's more than just a large animal until later on in the film. And I loved how they used that kind of distance to kind of parse it out so that you don't get too much of an impression. You get a hint of it. And you're like, okay, is that just something that's out there? Or is that really something that's hunting them? And you don't know yet until later in the film. But the way they designed Jotun or Motor just being like this giant weird looking elk thing, but with like kind of like a human arm torso-y thing as part of the head.
that's
That
upside
just looked
down.
at me. Yeah. And then you got the
Yeah,
eyes staring out from like this little thing inside of the
demonic
head.
vagina is what that looks like.
Weird. Yeah. Just a big open giant gash in the skull with like the eyes just yellow staring out at you, trying to mesmerize you and just catch you up in its bullshit. And, oh my God. It was pretty cool. I really liked how they worked that out, and the
yeah.
movement of it as it's chasing after and trying to reach out, and everything that's doing when it's taking Dom and everything else. Man, just like God, crazy movement on that thing.
That scene at the end when it kind of like stands up to full height and does this little deal.
I thought it was
Yeah,
like praying to like Loki for like additional
It's
assistance or some shit, like
creepy.
some
dude.
ritualistic thing.
It
It it looked like it was kind of it looked at that point it was full of itself because we all know why it went after Luke because the reason it marked all those people, one of the ladies there in that hut or that little community, she tells them it's like, "Oh, because you're full of a lot of pain." But it's not even so much pain. What it was to me, it was she didn't understand that it was called weakness. So that creature only preyed on the weak, and that's why it killed off all the other people because the other people like them in the beginning. It kills off the main friend, the main leader, because it knew that he was kind of like keeping everything together. And it didn't expect Luke to do what he did. So that's why at the end, when the creature it's kind of like bow before me, and kind of standing fully like fully erect
yeah,
and then Luke goes to stand up and he's like no you need to bow to me and then he again shows his size 'cause that's what bears do too, they get big to show their size when they
yeah.
stand up, and it was kind of doing that where it's like I'm this massive creature and I'm majestic and you need to worship me.
So that's kind of what I love about this creature reveal. I hear all the time, and 90% of the time it is true, that what we imagine is scarier than what you can show us.
Yeah.
And numerous times you can watch a creature feature movie, and once the creature is revealed, it's like, meh, okay, like that doesn't work. It being the perfect example of once Pennywise is revealed, okay, giant
Yeah.
crustacean in a cave. All right. This does not disappoint me. This feels like Norse
Yeah.
god mythology.
Yep.
It feels grounded and realistic, like a giant elk that is just twisted with some human like. It works. I don't know why, but this is one that once it was revealed on screen, I was actually like, oh shit. Not like, ah man, like it didn't terrify me, but it freaked me out. I was like, this is effective. This works. I am still invested in this story and wondering where this is going, because this creature design is fantastic. And I want to watch the behind the scenes documentary of how they arrived at this creature design. Is it based on, I'm sure we can find it on a website somewhere, but let me watch the documentary of how they made it. Like, what kind of practical effects went into this, if any? Is it all CGI? I don't think so, because it looks really, really good. What did they base the design off of? Is this an ancient Norse deity that they kind of went off of? I want to know more about it because it is so good. It looks like something that would have been drawn up by ancient Norse people. Like, it just looks that good. So
I kind of get curious though. I wish I kind of knew more, because like when Luke is finally taken to that cabin before he burns it down, he goes upstairs into that room and finds all those bodies that are like somewhat mummified, but like living mummies, basically. And it's like, how is this entity feeding off of that? You know, and so once he burns them all, and like the sounds and the screaming and everything comes from it, and like everyone's starting to panic. Man, that was awesome, dude. And it's just like seeing those small movements and effects when he realizes, like, oh shit, that thing just fucking moved. Like, oh my God, you know.
Doesn't she say that the creature prolongs their life?
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
So I think that to me was showing that the creature prolonging their, like, this is a prison, is a death sentence, because your life was prolonged, but then you just end up in that attic going like for how
you're pretty much stuck there, like worshiping in that little like satanic church or whatnot.
Your long-term feed. You're basically long-term feed for this demigod, and it sucks. And it kind of makes me wonder too, because like when they find that stuff in the woods early on, the tent and the boot and everything, they find that wallet, and you see that card for a woman from like expires 1984. It makes me think that one of those, that older woman might have been that person, maybe.
Oh,
maybe.
I didn't look at the photo on that close enough to look at the photo and then look forward. I didn't.
That's
even think
true.
I feel like that she might have been that person that they found in that picture. Maybe I can't say for certain. You can't really tell in the picture, but I feel like story-wise, that's how that plays out.
Well, and I was going to comment on how when we pull back, when Dom is being sacrificed, and we pull back and they start looking at all the trees around that settlement, and it's just bodies on the trees, bodies.
Yeah, and the woman's like, we don't touch them, we don't mess with those at all.
Yeah,
like, that's Jotun's thing, you know. That's like, some motor shit right there. Yeah.
It just gets macabre at the end of this movie. It is,
I want to talk about the initial, when we finally see this big bad deity and we see Dom tied up and he's just kind of telling them, he's like, oh, you guys are idiots. And when you see those trees moving, right? And at that moment, how they do the switch on you, because you're staring into these woods, into this forest, and you're seeing all this moving. And you're like, holy shit, this is like some King Kong type creature about to walk out, and ends up being his wife, just slowly like walking out. And I loved it. I loved that they didn't have the creature come out at first. And I loved how it was like the wife and he's
doing
like
the illusion thing.
Doing the illusion
and then ease for a little bit.
Yeah.
A false sense of security.
Dude, all of a sudden the camera pans and it's these and I love the fact that they went with like those orangey yellow eyes instead of like red eyes, because
Mhm.
it's always a cop out. Red eyes is always like everything's demonic, this and that. But with those like very like hypnotic yellowish like orange eyes were just, it was perfect. And it was pure darkness in there, which was even creepier because you can't even see a face, it's just eyes. Oh man. And then the hands too with the super long fingers, like it was just so creepy.
So good.
It was a great way to like show the creature finally like in its full form.
Well, and this falls entirely into direction on this one again, but also creature design, all of that. That scene, he sees Gale walk all the way up to him and put her hands on his face. And then it isn't until we cut to Luke's perspective that we're like, oh shit, those are
Yeah.
not Gale's hands.
Nope.
And that's when it's revealed. And just that deception that you're describing, it's so, this movie could have completely fallen apart in the third act. And instead, we'll get to the direction, but he succeeded. He managed to make it work. I'm seeing that the creature design was by Keith Thompson. So I don't know much of his work. I'm now very curious and want to find out. But it was brought to life through puppetry, practical suit work, and CGI. Believe all of that because that's what it looks like. It looks so good. I am actually a 5 on the editing and special effects for this.
Nice, dude. I gave it a 4 only because, I mean, like you said earlier, the editing was tight. It was perfect. I didn't feel at any moment that there was parts that lingered or that was too over explanation. Especially they could have gone like other movies go where they try to use the landscape as a cop out for like filler in the film. So they're like, oh, look at this landscape. It's beautiful. They showed you the landscape. They did the ooh ah type situation. But then they didn't just focus on that. They're like, okay, here's established that they're in this giant place in the middle of nowhere, and now we're in the forest, and everything's nice and tight. And the reason I gave it a 4 was because there was, I think, twice where the creature CGI felt a little like more than CGI. Like it felt a little slightly pulled out of it. But then out of nowhere, it just goes back to being like, okay, awesome. But that's the only reason I give it a 4. Editing and everything else was just top notch. But yeah.
They had really good details in a lot of the stuff, like even like the effigy that was set up, and you see like those kind of like mummified hands as feet.
Yeah.
That was just kind of really weird, trippy looking, man. I appreciate those kind of small details and that stuff. And even when you see like the deer or whatever it is that's already strung up in the wind in the trees when you get there, seeing how it's gutted, and then they got that one shot where you see the hoof and it's just dripping the blood. And I was like, oh man, maybe that goes a little more towards direction and like how you're like putting feelings into it. Yeah, trying to build that tension, but still, I really like that stuff. That's cool, and it looked really gritty, dark. Like that's some shit you would see out in the woods, kind of thing. As far as like the gore part of it, like kind of realistic. I send that a 4. Yeah.
Okay, so the script. Then this is an interesting one. More so that we don't get a lot of explanation for what's going on, which I kind of like. We don't get massive lore dumps of like, oh, this creature, whatever. We get just enough. The cultists at the end are not explained, really, how long they've been there, what they're doing there, how this group, it is all you pulling the pieces from elsewhere and putting it together. And I love that about it. It doesn't over explain anything. It's written by Joe Barton. We said it was adapted from Adam Neville's novel. But it doesn't lean heavily into exposition at all. But what I really like is that these guys' lines feel pretty realistic. They feel like 4 guys who've known each other for a very long time. I mentioned tomorrow in the Blair Witch Project episode that I like how they kind of interrupt and talk over each other because it feels real. These guys do that same thing, the straight up shouting matches, but it feels like real dialogue from guys who've known each other. And I think that's difficult to write. So I got to give it credit there.
Yeah, I thought that the script was just fantastic, man. I think and it's true, like the camaraderie, like it just felt right off the bat when they're in the pub. They felt like real friends, like they've known each other for a long time. They're trying to decide where to go, and as everything escalates and everything kind of just shit hits the fan, I mean, it just you could see the real panic, and it didn't like man, it I don't know where they went in their head to be able to like be that scared, like as an
Mm-hmm.
actor, because I'll tell you, like I when I was talking about this, like when it comes to the Descent, where the director actually had the main character in the Descent actually get stuck in one of the scenes where she's in the tunnel and she started having a panic attack, because he was saying and she was saying that it's very hard to really pull that off, but to really be able to get the message as authentic as possible is to actually really be in that situation. And it felt like that in this film, like the isolation. Like I wonder if it was really raining when they were filming those certain scenes, or if obviously it was like Hollywood magic or not.
Mm-hmm.
But the story, I feel the only thing that bothered me was because I didn't want to be spoon sped the explanations or anything, but I just wish I would have known just a tad bit more on like if somebody, if that lady, if he, I wish he would have just asked them like, how long have you people been here? And she would have been like, oh, thousands of years or something. Just that. Like if I would have had that extra sentence, that would have just satisfied me just more. But not knowing like how, because it's like it preserves them, but for how long? Like 100 years, 200 years, for eternity. But then
Mm-hmm.
why are people aging if it preserves them? So that's the only thing that kind of um that threw me in a little tiny loop, but everything else was just perfect.
And you know what? Maybe I'm an idiot for this. Maybe I should have paid attention to this. I just realized, so they find the wallet from the 80s,
Yeah,
or expires in 84. I always thought it was a throwaway line, but there's that Volkswagen van at
that's
the
true.
beginning that they make a comment about, like, that's a weird place to leave that. And I'm like, oh, I'm just now going, wait, was that family in the Volkswagen van?
Dude.
Or is that a different group? Because if the credit card expired in 84, a Volkswagen van like that was probably from the 60s or 70s.
Oh yeah.
So it's realistic that the family could have been driving that. It's also realistic that that could be saying that there was another group there 20 years before the other group that we know of, kind of hinting at they've been here for a long time. Like
Yeah.
people keep adding to their numbers, getting lost in the woods.
That
That
whole group that was at the cabin could have been that family in general, for all we know.
Yeah.
That's been
That's
yeah,
living a long ass time.
yeah, weird. So yeah, that was just something that just connected in my brain as we were sitting talking about
But
this.
I'm wondering too, because obviously the creature chooses, like it marks the people that it wants to worship it, obviously due
Mhm.
to certain qualities. But now I'm wondering, it's like, man, like there was a lot of people there between that little like satanic church in the attic and then everybody else out there. So it's like, were just people going into the forest and then stumbling into that cabin, or like how
Yeah,
long in between was that happening, or were they kind of mating with each other and having kids and
they look
raising
like they
them
might have
there?
been a little inbred.
It looked
I
like
don't
it,
know,
yeah.
man. It doesn't look they were banging around too much because it was very few people for one.
Yeah,
But I feel like the youngest woman there that was talking to Luke for the most part, I think maybe she was just someone who got either she's a child product of that weird shit situation, or she's just one of the more recent victims who got caught up into the shit.
that's
You know,
true.
it's
Yeah.
hard to tell because they don't really give you much back on that, but okay, it's okay otherwise. I mean, I like the balance between dialogue and quiet and just watching what's happening throughout this. It's not too dialogue heavy, and you get just enough to tell you what's going on, to initiate certain feelings, and
Yeah.
it's good. Um, and even when he was like him trying to talk to those people, you don't really need too much. He got the gist, and it's like, all right, cool,
Mhm.
we're going down. But there is some fun dialogue in there, you know, especially like toward the beginning where they're talking about trying to like shorten that trip by going through the woods, you know. And Dom's just like, my old scoutmaster used to say, if the shortcut was a shortcut, it wouldn't be called a shortcut, it'd be called a route. You know, and you got some other small lines in that like that come throughout there. Um, I like the part though where Phil's like he was talking about how bad it is, and Dom's like, "Oh, it's just character building," and Phil is just like, "Oh, I can lick my bridge," and he's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Oh, your taint, dude. You can lick my bridge." He's like, "Oh," and they're like, "Oh, you mean the perineum?" He's like, "Yeah, my bridge. You can lick my taint, dude. Like this sucks my taint so bad, you know." So there's a little bit of fun in it, even though it's
There is.
overly a very serious and very kind of like traumatizing kind of situation for them.
Yeah.
But
I
it
like
is cool, man.
I like those one-liners too, like those jokes, because I mean, I've said stuff. I literally, I think, said that like 2 days ago in a voice message to one of my buddies. I was like literally saying something about like a boutique label, and I was like, "Oh, I swear, if they mess this up, they could do the." I literally said the same thing. I was like, "They can lick my bridge," but but, but
That is something that I have picked up on rewatches is
yeah,
the humor in it. The one-liners feel like what you would say to your buddies.
yeah,
That's what I like about it.
whoever wrote it really kept it as like level as possible. And one thing too that you brought up, Jonathan, about you were saying about the woman there, that she could have been a product to the woman that was talking to Luke. She could have been a product of that whole situation. If you guys noticed, she was the only one that spoke English there, and then nobody else
Yeah.
spoke English. So now I'm wondering,
Oh
was she
yeah,
like a modern victim, or like what happened there? That you know,
That's what made me wonder if now I want to go back and rewatch that wallet finding scene and see if
yeah,
that looks like her in the photo. Better yet, I should probably just read the book that it's based on. Maybe that reveals a little bit more. I don't know.
could be.
But
what's the book called? Is it The Ritual also?
it's called The Ritual by
Yeah.
Adam Neville.
Oh, I'm gonna write that down. I gotta check that out,
Yeah,
man.
Adam Neville's novel. So I'm curious, but I feel like this is probably one of those movies where the script could be pulled mostly from the dialogue of the book. I feel like you
Yeah,
can pull a lot. I wouldn't be surprised. Like one of my wife and I's favorite movies is Rosemary's Baby, which is based on the book. She loves the movie and she's like, I should read the book. And she's like, it's word for word the same. She's like, it is the most faithful adaptation she's ever read.
That
I
sounds
feel
amazing.
like I feel like this could be a very faithful adaptation. So, but I need to read the book to find out. So I'm at
Weird
a
side
4.
note.
Oh,
Sorry, just because you mentioned Rosemary's Baby, my brain like makes weird connections to stuff. Mike Patton, his side band, Phantomas, director's cut is called the name of the album. He does a version of the theme to Rosemary's Baby that will
ooh,
creep you the fuck out so hard, but it's
nice.
good.
because that theme
Ugh.
is creepy on its own. I now I want to check that out.
Yeah,
I want to check
Phantomas, Rosemary's Baby,
it. Okay,
amazing cut.
I'm
Holy
a
cow!
4 on the script.
Same 4,
Same
dude. Look at us.
trifecta. All
Yeah.
right.
All right, on to the acting. We have Rafe Spall as Luke, Archer Ali as Phil, Robert James Collier from Downton Abbey, by the way, as Hutch, and Sam Troughton as Dom. And that is the main cast of the film. Those are the 4 that we follow through the woods. Uh, I think they all serve their parts really well. I don't think anybody is earning an Academy Award for it, though.
Yeah,
The Academy Awards are rigged, anyways. But I
It's
don't
all bullshit.
think
facts.
I don't think I would be nominating any of them personally. So, but none of it is like, wow, that was overacted, or wow, they're just ham fisting those lines. No, they do a really good job with what they have and making these guys believable. And I've been meaning to say it, and I just remembered, so I'm going to say it now. Um, the other thing they don't really talk about, but it's mentioned, is they originally take the shortcut because they think they can finish it in a day if they do that, versus the 2 days of the real trail. And they're on food rations. They end up going through the shortcut for almost 4 days, I think. It's 3 or 4 days.
Probably
There's
closer
at
to three, I
least
think.
3 nights that they're on that shortcut, which means these guys aren't just cold, wet, tired, and injured. They're also hungry.
Yeah,
which would just add to all of that tension and feeling. And they don't really come out and say it, but this last rewatch, I was like, it shows them with food early on and then not as much later.
And two of
And
them
you
are
don't even,
injured.
yeah.
Yeah, Dom, that little bastard, fucking up
Well,
his knee,
and
screwed it
then
all up.
and then the other guy with the boots, because he was very you could tell he was very vain. He had a lot of vanity type thing. Because he even says at one point, he's like, "Oh, I wore the wrong boots for this."
Yeah.
So because his feet,
Isn't that Hutch?
I think so.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think Hutch is
recall.
like, I wore the wrong boots for
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Like,
I think it was. Actually, wait a minute. Was it?
you're the one
Yeah.
who looks like you have military training. But
Oh no, it was Phil. Phil was the
okay.
one. It was Phil. But yeah, man, like he like definitely that's another thing, being injured. Like, I mean, if you've been hiking and you've worn either brand new hiking boots or the wrong shoes, and after like 2 hours in that type of terrain, man,
Mhm.
you'll
Your feet
feel
are
it.
fucked.
Yeah, and then it's like 3 days worth. I mean, where they were already hiking ahead because his feet were bothering them before they even went into the forest. Like he was already complaining about his feet, but to have that being, I mean, freezing cold, like
Mhm.
being hunted, already resentment towards Luke, and kind of people are like slightly divided because you could tell too they were very cliquey, even though they were all friends. You
Yeah.
see Luke and it was Luke
Hutch.
and Hutch, you could tell they were kind of more camaraderie, and they were talking about like, oh hey, Dom is like a little girl and this and that. But yeah, man, I mean, the acting, I do want to say too that the actor that plays Luke, which which was Rafe Spall, wasn't
Yes.
he also in what the hell is it called, uh Shaun of the Dead? Wasn't he in Shaun of the
Oh
Dead?
my gosh, I
Wait,
haven't
was
seen
he?
that movie in so long.
I think he was. He was a kid that he works with that he's always chewing gum.
Yeah, he was
And
in
he,
Shaun of the Dead
yes, and
Holy shit.
and
dude, to
Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, I
and
saw
Pop Fuzz,
Life of Pi.
dude, and to see him go from
What?
that, from a comedy to this movie, I mean, I gotta say that of anybody in that role, the only person that I wasn't too happy with his acting was Robert, like actor that plays Robert, just because of that scene. You could tell he was very scared and everything, or maybe it was just the character itself. I wasn't happy with that decision and the way it was handled.
Yeah.
But the actor that plays Luke, dude, that at that ending where he just screams back and faces that creature instead of continuing to run, he just turns around and he looks at right in the eyes. I mean, dude, that I felt it, man. I got goosebumps when he just started screaming like that. So
Gotta
I
say
thought
it
it
with your
was,
chest, bro.
yeah,
Say it
yeah. I
with
was
your chest. He
He
did.
let it know, man. He was like, "Screw you, you're trapped in that forest."
Man, see, that was crazy too because like I don't know any of these people. I don't recognize them for anything, and so it's not familiar. I didn't see Downton Abbey or any other stuff, and now I'm just really surprised to see that one dude, Rafe Spall, was in like so many things,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I just didn't even notice it. But it's cool though. But the acting though, it all felt so believable. It
yeah,
didn't feel cheesy, campy, bullshitty. It felt legit. They truly felt like dudes who'd known each other forever, had that kind of friend twist because in any group of friends there's going to be like people who have those certain roles,
yeah,
and so they kind of have that same matching dynamic. You have the people who are more forward, people who are more the followers, people who have more complainers, more whiners, people who are real tougher, and they kind of get an all around about in those personalities between all these four main guys. And I can't really find any fault in the acting in this at all. I think they did a fantastic job in this. So um,
Where do you
all I
like?
can say is I'm a five. I'm a five all day on
Ooh,
this for acting.
Impressive.
Even though I don't know these dudes or see like recognize them for much of anything, I feel this was a very solid performance from these dudes.
You make a persuasive argument. I
yeah,
was sitting content at a 4, but like I can't really fault any of them
yeah. It's hard, man.
because they deliver in every scene. Every scene.
But to be fair though, like, see, for me, I gave it a 4 because the reason I didn't give it a 5, because 5, it's kind of like, um, it's like
5 is elite.
that award winning type, like
Yeah.
that scene with Will Smith and I Am Legend with the dog,
Oh,
like type acting. Like
yeah.
that's for me. That to me is like a 5. If my eyes are tearing up, that's a 5. So that's why I gave it a 4, just because it was phenomenal, but it didn't make me feel like emotional.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's
Okay.
fair. That's fair. All right, so we're 4, 4, and 5 on that one. Okay, so that takes us then to, I believe, direction. Is that where we're at?
Yeah.
Direction.
So
Wow.
direction. This is one where often GCI often drop in the uh, cinematography as well, because the director and the cinematographer, I always think it's the director's vision that the cinematographer is bringing to life. So that's where we talk about it here. But this was directed by David Bruckner, who has done multiple entries in the VHS franchise.
Nice.
He did the Night
Wow.
House, which was the Night House was actually surprised me in this beautifully, like, I don't want to say gothic, but it was like a romance but a horror movie at the same time, and it surprised me, and I really enjoyed it, and I was surprised that I enjoyed it. He also did this movie. Most recently, he did the Hellraiser reboot on for Hulu. Hulu at least releases their stuff on physical media usually, so you can grab those. You can grab Prey. I believe you can grab Hellraiser.
They have it
The
already?
movie look, yeah, the
Oh.
movie looks really good. I'm not going to credit him for the story of Hellraiser. Wasn't one of my favorite stories. Uh, but he is currently working on the Blob remake.
What?
Oh.
If I believe it's, yeah, it's the Blob. I don't think it's Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. I believe he
Oh no, we don't need
is.
a remake for that.
I
Let
believe
tomatoes stay where they are.
he is currently in production or pre-production on the Blob remake. So I'm super pumped about that, because every version of the Blob is fantastic for its own reasons. Uh, yeah, he is the director, pre-production of the Blob film, so I'm excited for that one. But yeah, he's made his name in kind of direct to streaming horror with VHS, two Netflix entries. I appreciate he doesn't really do the jump scares in this movie. I don't think there's not really any. It's just kind of a creeping dread. And multiple times that I love this kind of scare, when you're just staring into the woods and you don't see it until it moves. And then you're like, "Oh shit, it was there the whole time." That was so good. I love when they do that, and he does that so well in this film, because there are multiple times, and each time I watch it, I'm like, I'm trying to find, yep, I see that hand on that tree. uh I love that work. But I also love, like we were talking about, the nature stuff. He
Yeah.
makes these woods feel so dense.
Mhm.
I can't imagine. I want to know. This is a movie that I want to know more about the filming, because I actually texted my friend. I have a friend in Norway, and I actually texted her and I was like, "Have you heard of this trail?" Because they mentioned the name of the trail, the King's Trail or something like that.
Yeah.
And I said, "It's a trail between Norway and Sweden." I was like, "Is that a real thing, or is it used for this movie?" And she goes, "No, I think it's a real thing." She looked it up. She's like, "Most of it's in Sweden,
Oh,
not as much
dude.
Norway." But she's like,
Oh,
at least what she said, I can Google it myself to find out, but I just didn't. I was trusting her. Um, she said it's a trail through Sweden. And I was like, "Dude, I kind of want to do that trail now. I'm just going to stay on the trail. I'm not going to take a shortcut through the woods." But they, it made me wonder, how much of this filming were they deep in the woods for filming? I don't believe they were. I can't believe that. That's so impractical and difficult to do.
Yeah.
But it felt like they were deep in the woods this entire time.
Well,
It,
could I tell you a little secret
yeah.
that I learned, unless you guys already know this? So on that Cinema Rewind Descent episode we just did, I found out that the Descent was not filmed in a cave at all. So
Oh.
So if this type of movie, if for any reason this movie was like on a stage
The
or just,
soundstage.
dude, I swear to God, man, I will lose my mind because I the entire time I thought that the Descent, most of it was filmed because as above, so below, almost all of it is filmed underground in tunnels. It's filmed under the Paris catacombs. So for this movie, it's like one of those. They all go good together. Like if you want to have
Mhm.
one of those creepy, atmospheric, like dark type of lore movies, like this one, man, like I don't know, like I need to see some type of making of this movie because like to make those scenes like in the liquor store inside that forest, like you know how much of a pain that would be to bring all that equipment with you,
Uh-huh.
like dude.
So, good news. The film was shot outside of a couple like early stuff in the film. It was
Nice.
shot entirely on location in Romania,
Romania, dude, that's
in
interesting.
in the Carpathian Mountains. So they did shoot it.
Yes.
Yes,
They're like
it,
on the edge of certain properties or something out there where
Yeah.
like
yeah.
you've got some room to like have all your equipment and shit and your base camp, and then you just go like a couple yards into the deep part of the woods that's right at the edge of their property and be like, okay, we're gonna
They
use
load
this.
up the gators and drive in through the woods.
Dude,
Right? Yeah.
I'm
Yep.
so happy, man. I'm so happy that like the director is a saint because I love that, man. I know it's extra work, but for people like us that we enjoy that type of quality and that type of make it as real as possible for especially for the actors, make it something
Yeah,
tangible.
it
That's
pays off.
incredible.
Pays off.
Yeah.
So, according to the internet, again, just the internet,
Those liars.
Liars.
yeah, it was a lot of this movie was natural light, shot with natural light too. Not so that would make sense. They're
Damn.
not dragging lighting equipment through the woods. They're going to shoot with natural light, a lot of handheld camera work, not a lot of gimbals and cranes and stuff, which works. But the wide framing of so many of those scenic shots that is used, it's a wide shot of the woods, but throughout the film it is used to represent different things. Early on, the wide framing is like almost optimistic, like it's these four friends out there honoring their dead friend.
Yeah.
Big open expanse, the world is their oyster type thing. And then it's like, hey, we're going to take the shortcut, and you see the big shot of the woods and you're like, oh, that's dense and ominous.
Shortcut into hell.
Yeah. And then it's used throughout to like, hey, it's a wide shot, but this is claustrophobic. And just those wide shots are beautiful, stunning to look at. And they also communicate a different message every time they're shown. It's I've seen most of David Bruckner's work. Actually, I haven't seen Southbound. He did Southbound as well. Uh, I haven't seen that one, and I will be seeing The Blob when it comes out. He just did the segment The Accident in Southbound. So another, what are those called? Multiple stories in the same movie. So I've seen all of his work, and this is my favorite as far as his direction and bringing it all together. This movie just looks sharp. He was firing on all cylinders with this, from the pacing, story elements, the way he decided to like, hey, let's incorporate those flashback segments instead of just doing straight flashbacks. Let's have the woods like you described, spread it apart, take it over. Like, genius moves for this. And like we said earlier, the third act could have, and in lesser hands might have just fallen apart and destroyed the movie. If you had a monster reveal that doesn't work, it kind of takes most of the steam from this movie away, but this one works. And a lot of that is to a credit to a director who knows the vision, has it, and it's clear in this film that there's stuff at the beginning that pays off at the end. It is all connected to the finest detail, from claws on the chest in the first end of the first act to what that means in the final act. Like, it's all there.
Dude,
He was paying excellent attention.
can I also add that the director was so good in creating the character of Luke, like, or at least making sure that he was portrayed properly to the point how we were talking about earlier in the podcast episode, that at the end we wanted to see more of Luke, like what happened to him. And that's due to the fact that he became such a lovable guy. Like you felt his pain and he went through so much that you just wanted this guy to win. Even though in the beginning, I went through an emotional roller coaster in the very beginning, hating him, to like throughout the movie kind of having a little bit of sympathy but still being like annoyed with him for what he did, till the end of it where being like, dude, you're a good dude and like you deserve to win and get the hell out of here. And the
Yeah.
director did a great job literally directing that.
Cowardly bitch to boss man.
Dude,
You know,
seriously,
Very true.
man.
very
What a
extreme opposites here for that guy, for his development. But with direction though, man, I really appreciate the use of the landscape.
yeah.
You know, just from like that feeling, that almost feeling like, oh, there's some deep dark woods. Then they get into it, and then the shit starts getting crazy. But then you get those moments where when things are most tense, the woods seem most dense. And with some of the angles and the way they shot it, like that one part where after they leave that cabin with the effigy in it, they're looking up and like, oh, there's a ridge. You know, we're in this dense part of the woods. It's light up there. Maybe there's some hope. You get to the top of the ridge, and Luke's like, shit, it's just more woods. It's thinner,
Mhm.
but it's more woods. And then you hear the sounds, and then like Tim was saying, you see that hand on the tree, and then like he's like, what was that shit? And then it slides away. He's like, oh no, and you're like, oh, what is happening? Like this? Oh no, I'm starting to freak out a little bit, and you start to really feel for him. And it really draws you into that sense of tension and the drama. And it's like, oh no, this sucks really bad. And Dom's a little bitch. Luke's like kind of still coming to terms with his shit. Phil's freaking out. Hutch is like, next thing you know, he's taken out. I just like the way they put it all together overall, man. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they did great with this. God, man.
I surprised myself on this score. I don't think I would give David Bruckner this score for any of his other movies, but for this movie, I do give him a 5. Just pulling this movie together the way he did, it's fantastic. I gave him a 5 on this one.
Dude, so originally I gave him a 4, but I want to go ahead and on record, because of the findings you with the stuff you found on the internet as far as for actually using natural light, which I'm a big fan of when it comes to filming or photography, like the least Photoshop, the least editing, and just keeping it as natural as possible and doing it right that first time. I'm a huge fan of it. The fact that it was on all these locations, especially somewhere like Romania, I changed my score to a 5 because man,
Yeah.
he earned it, man, like 100%.
Yeah, see, I have a buddy from high school, my buddy Mitchell, who actually lives in Sweden. I should give that dude a holler about that trail thing. But
Yes, you should. Let's find out.
so you guys brought up some good points, and I was a 3, but now I'm changing myself to a 4.
Yeah.
I love it. See, this is why our tagline is the real review happens with your friends, because the other thing that streaming has taken away from us is the communal experience of sitting there watching a movie and then talking about it.
Yep.
That's why there are 7,000 different movie podcasts on every platform out there, because we miss talking about it with our friends. Let's be honest. All right. So that moves us to the cultural significance. This is a tough one for this film. This is a tough one. So it was released on Netflix. It had a limited theatrical run in the UK. It went basically under the radar at release, but it has become an underground favorite for horror fans. One of the things that I'm kind of leaning into the way Johnathan normally looks at cultural significance here, but we get very few horror movies that focus on a male-led ensemble dealing with trauma, emotional paralysis. It's masculine vulnerability without being action heroes. I can't think of another movie that is like that.
Yeah, you're right. I'm trying to think right now, like when you were saying that, and it's hard to find a film that puts men into that realistic because I mean that's a societal thing, right? We all grew up with even from back in the day where it's like you look at a guy and he's like in charge, he can't get nervous, he can't be scared, he can't
Hmm.
cry. And in this film, you get all of that. You see a lot of these facades break down where specifically where and I'm pulling up his name where Phil, for example, he's like he comes off at this tough guy, this and that. But then you see him breaking down and you see him like on his knees praying to this thing, kind of trying to like survive. And then you have people like Dom, which is the opposite, where he's like the crybaby of the group, this and that, but then he ends up being the toughest one.
Hmm.
And then obviously we have Luke, where he's like sitting there just by himself, smoldering, smoking a cigarette, and try not to show weakness, but then like he's like on the inside he's just a broken man. And the way they portrayed it in such a way where it was not just so like on brand with the realism of how a lot of guys deal with things, but it was just it was a good message. It was a good message when it comes to just communication, camaraderie, and accepting certain things. And it's yeah, it was great, man. I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
I don't really have much really put in on it factor because this is one of those films where this isn't something is it's not very typical story wise in what you usually get with anything like this, especially when it comes to like anything that's folk horror kind of situation. So I don't really know what kind of impact it really has. It's almost got its own kind of small, I feel like its own small niche kind of setting to
Hmm.
it, you know? Um, so I'm not really sure where it takes us with this. I feel like maybe I probably would have should have scored lower, but I felt like with such a good movie, even though it had like limited release going straight to like Netflix, you don't get much call out on it. So this is kind of a tough one to score for me. Um, because of how much I like the movie, I feel like maybe I gave too much of a score on it, but I was sitting like at a 3.
You
It's
cushioned it.
serviceable, it's good, but I don't know what kind of over far reach it's going to have otherwise in the horror film industry or anything that relates to folk horror.
So I can help you maybe feel better about that. Uh, Other than the fact that this is one of the few, the only that I can think of off the top of my head that treats a male cast like this, all male. No, there is no damsel in distress in this film, and I love that. Uh, Other than that, I don't hear people talk about this movie. I don't, and not enough. Certainly not enough. That's why I'm glad we're doing this and having this conversation, and that all three of us watch this and they're like, this movie's great. It needs to be talked about. People need to see it and realize this is not some Blair Witch Project knockoff.
Yeah.
And if you're not paying attention, you might think it is. 4 people wandering through the woods getting lost while something's stalking them. Yeah, I can see where you'd think that. But it's really not. But to make you feel better, the fact that it's not really being talked about, the fact that you don't see a buzz about it, I haven't seen a single podcast address it. I can Google it while we talk, but there's not enough talk about this film. And that makes me give it a 2 on the cultural significance. There's not, I don't think it has much of a cultural impact other than the way it treats the men and being unique in the horror world for that. And there's not enough people who have seen it to acknowledge that and bring it to the forefront.
I man, I see. So for me, I gave it a 3, but not because I thought it wasn't like it was cultural significant. It was more of a because of not people knowing about it. So if this movie had a theater release or it had a physical media release or it was in other platforms like Amazon Prime
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that, I feel like it would be way more known because the thing with Netflix, you have so many things that they don't really promote. Like they're trying to promote their own personal stuff first, and then all the other like Adam Sandler stuff, like the mainstream type stuff. But I feel like if this movie was like on Amazon Prime and it was on like the main page, it would be different. I think the film itself is very it's one of those cautionary tales. Like to me, there's so many in the woods horror movies, B movies that are like, oh, okay, that's fun for what it was. Obviously, like The Hills Have Eyes, right? Like that's creepy as shit. Or like Wrong Turn, like it makes you not want to go into the forest. This was one of those movies for me where if I was in a different country and they had these type of like beliefs and stuff like that, I'd be a lot more cautious going into woods that I have no idea of, because that was so believable to me. It was so realistic. I was like, man, this could happen. Like, I mean, it's not that far off. You never know. I mean, we've seen weirder shit. So
Oh yeah.
so I mean, I gave it a 3. I would love to give it a 4, but yeah, the 3 is just because unfortunately the poor marketing.
Yeah. I just listened to a podcast yesterday while I was on the road about a area of woods, I think in the Grand Tetons, that people apparently go missing all the time. And I'm like, yeah, that all over the world, there's woods like that.
Yep.
So
Bunch of shitty hikers.
they
still know
don't
how to
know how
hike
to
right.
use a compass. All right. So that brings us, we're going to do our final scores now. We'll give our out of 10. How much do we enjoy it? The one a lot you see most common. So how entertained were you out of 10? And then our final scores, and we'll see where the average places this for your next social gathering, the whole point of our show.
I feel like this was a very surprisingly entertaining movie for me. Just what you get right out of the gate at the start of the film, and the brutality and the guilt and the pain, and then just everything and the suffering as it goes through it, and then Luke coming out despite having lost all his friends and shit, still trying to be like, "Fuck you, Jotun, you motor piece of shit," whatever. I like this movie. I will tell people about it. It's not something I want to watch again right away, but it's something that's definitely on my list of films that I think are worth a good watch for people. So I think that puts me at a 7.
All right.
Nice. All right. Man, I guess I'm gonna be the odd one out, possibly. Hopefully Tim's here with me, but I give it a 10,
TC,
man.
you want to go or you want me?
Huh?
You're 10?
Yeah. I was I went with a 10 because dude, I mean the entire time I couldn't not stop watching, and they had me all the way from the first 5 minutes all the way to the bitter end.
Yeah. This for me, this is an 8 for me. I love this movie. I normally I say it every episode, dang it. I'll just put it in the title. The difference between a 9 and a 10 means I would turn it on again immediately. A 9 means I liked it the same. I just don't want to watch it again. This is just a hair below that. I don't want to watch it again immediately because I am at the point where I've watched this movie so many times that the scares are kind of gone. And it's now just atmosphere. It's just beautiful, fantastic atmosphere. But I still love bringing this movie to people who haven't seen it. Like, let's watch this together and experience it together. It's a great time. It's a great movie. Yeah, I am an 8. So altogether, our total scores.
I changed mine. I was at a 38, but with that change in that one category, I'm at a 39 now.
Nice. I'm 43.
Woo-hoo!
And I am 41. So 41 plus 43 plus, what were you, Jonathan?
39.
39. All right. So divide that by 3. That's
100% Rotten Tomato.
Speaking of tomatoes, though, if they ever did a remake of Revenge of the Killer Tomatoes, I would like it to see it get more of like the treatment that Toxic Avenger is getting for the reboot. I would like to see kind of like a trauma version of that.
Yeah.
Man, I think it'd be pretty sick.
Yeah.
So our average together is a 41 or 4 stars out of 5, which I think is very accurate representation of this film. I also think it's a very accurate representation of our thing is movie reviews for social settings. So if you put this movie on at a Halloween party, most likely a good choice.
Yep.
It is most likely going to work for your crowd. So it would be technically a 41, puts it as an amazing choice for a Halloween party. So, and I agree, probably more so than a lot of the other ones we've done with folk horror. I think folk horror is such a unique genre. You have movies like Midsommar, bright and sunny, also natural lighting for that film, great. Midsommar, which is just so different than this, and yet they are both folk horror movies. So, yeah, this one comes highly recommended from this group here. So, any final words on it, GC?
Yeah, I do. My final thoughts, which I had written down here, I'll read them out.
Yeah.
This movie pulled me in from the very beginning. It's original. It's creepy. It makes you think twice about going into the woods. Wasn't expecting that ending at all, and it was nice for a movie to not be predictable. The music, the editing was fantastic, and like Tim said, I mean, watch this with friends, watch it alone, but just watch this movie, give it a chance. It's something different. It felt like A quality cinematography, and
Mhm.
I mean the stories there, the characters stay with you. They definitely make you feel something. So just check it out.
Heck yeah.
Fantastic analysis, GC. Thank you. Genuinely, genuinely.
No, we definitely
All right.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
So that wraps up The Ritual, a chilling modern entry into the folk horror canon that proves grief and guilt can be just as terrifying as anything lurking in the woods.
Huge thanks to our guest GC from Face the Movies. Always a blast having you on the mic. Glad we could get you from Dread Broadcast to a review episode. And your insight into this film made it even more fun to unpack.
Dude, thanks
If you're
guys.
still with us,
Oh, sorry.
sorry.
No,
Go ahead,
ahead,
buddy.
GC.
No, Jonathan, go ahead, buddy. I'm sorry.
If you're still with us, drop your own rating for The Ritual over on our Instagram using one of our scoring systems, and let us know what you would do if you found that runic symbol nailed to a tree.
And hey, if you're looking to really scratch that found footage itch this October, Ghost Hunters, Cursed Woods, Terrifying Footage Left Behind, check out my book, Like, Comment, Survive, my new horror novel, perfect for fans of Blair Witch Project or the Hell House movies or Dark Side of YouTube ghost hunting.
So remember to like, follow, and share the show. It helps more horror fans find our haunted little corner of the internet.
We'll be back tomorrow night with another descent into madness. We've already spoiled it. We're talking the Blair Witch Project with Steven from After Hours VHS or video. I'm
You got it. No, after hours video.
Okay, okay. But until then, stay out of the forest and trust your gut.
Oh, yeah. So this is The Average,
Where the real review happens with your friends.